This. Okay. So first, just thank you for coming and joining me, Amelia. I really appreciate it. I have been inspired by your journey for a couple of years now, and I think that um, what I would love to dive into today is for women that are in, well, I call it the midlife quadrant of chaos, but for women that are raising a family, even thinking about or in the middle of growing a business, having all the different trials and tribulations that we go through as we develop and mature as individuals. I would love for you, my dear, to share the journey that you've been on from, again, I was saying this just preamble. I would love for you to share your journey of raising kids from a young age to becoming a professional to struggling with body identity. I would love for you to share, and I'm gonna open the mic to you, and I want you to go back as far as you can, so that as many women can identify with your journey as possible. So I'm gonna let you roll, and I want you just to pour into your story, my dear. So
Okay.
fire away, and then I've got a couple questions as we go along.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Feel free to interrupt me and ask questions as I'm talking, so it's not maybe just a monologue of me the whole
I
time.
will prime you when necessary.
Okay. So you say go back as far as possible, and man, I feel like, I could go back way far. I'll start maybe with high school, because that's when I really feel like, for me personally, I started having some um not body identity issues, just like, I don't know. I was looking at my body and I wasn't developing the way maybe like my sister was, and I just was different. I've always been a very athletic person. So if you're an athletic woman, most of us are pretty slim. We don't have any curves, and society when we're younger, and society now even, tells you that, you need to have big boobs and big hips, and that's what guys want. And so as a 14, 15-year-old girl, that's I feel like where some of my identity issues are. So my confidence with my body and who I was in my body started to kind of be shaky. I mean, if you look at pictures of me in like the first or second grade, I was that permed hair, purple glasses, braces person. So it probably started then even. And now I ask my mom, like, why did you let me get a perm? That's terrible. But that's what we did when, in the
and,
80s.
and I think that I don't care what shape that you have. I think what I have heard anyway, particularly as a young developing girl, it doesn't matter who you are. You want what someone else has, and I
Yep.
don't think that struggle ever ends for many women. I
No,
don't think
it
it ends for any of us. But the reality
no.
of it is, I think that's not. I don't think you're the only one.
No, I don't, because even now I have patients who come into my office and they're larger chested women. And they talk about getting breasts when they were, 10, and how they were just super insecure and uncomfortable about it. And I didn't get any, and I was super insecure and uncomfortable about it. So it's just how we are. But it does get ingrained into you to have some of these issues and to not be confident. And I feel like that confidence kind of carries through. So in high school, a couple years later, I started experimenting with a lot of drugs because I was just very, very insecure. I was very unhappy. I was probably, now I would probably have been diagnosed with, depression and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. But I was trying to numb what was going on inside of me because I was so sad and I hurt so much inside. I didn't know how to vocalize it on the outside. So I just started doing lots of drugs to help sedate myself because I couldn't deal with what was happening. And I always say when I talk about this that, the number one thing that saved me was getting pregnant at 18. Getting pregnant at 18, it gave me a why. It gave me a reason to live outside of myself, somebody else who needed me and loved me and depended on me. And so I had my
Awesome.
son when I was 19, and that really changed kind of the route I was on. I don't know where I would be now if I hadn't have had them. Maybe everything would be fine, but maybe it wouldn't have been. I don't really know. So I had my son at 19, got pregnant again at 20. My kid's dad and I split up right before I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So then I'm a pregnant 19-year-old single. I'm going through that entire pregnancy.
Oh my God.
Went through that alone, then had my daughter at 21 and struggled. I mean, I was 21. I wasn't, I didn't have any sort of education besides high school. I didn't have a skill. I didn't really have a craft. I was doing massage because I'd went to massage school. So I was doing some massage, but there's only so much of that you can do. And I wasn't really thriving in life. I was barely surviving. I was on every type of welfare that I could be on. So food stamps, housing help, what else? Medicare, Medicaid with the kids, all of that kind of stuff we were on because I couldn't afford to live. I couldn't afford to, provide for my children. And so I lived like that for quite a few years, just kind of, hand to mouth, just surviving. And so I really understand when people are going through those hard times. And I know, some of us, we all go, I know you've gone through that kind of stuff. We've all gone through hard times where we just survive, and that's okay. But you have to move past that. You can't stay a victim of all of those circumstances. You can't stay in that mentality because then you'll never do anything else. So as a single mother, I decided I needed to do something else. I needed to provide for my kids in a way that I couldn't. And so I went back to school. I had done some random college here and there, nothing actually went together to make a degree. But I decided I was going to go to chiropractic school. Never been adjusted, didn't know anything about it. Actually, an ex-boyfriend suggested I look into chiropractic school. And, they say people are in your life for a reason. I believe that was his only reason in my life. Because it was not a good
at some point in time, you're going to need to call him up or send him a random letter and say, hey, listen, thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Because if he wouldn't have said, hey, maybe you should look into chiropractic school, I don't know if I ever would have. And so I looked into it. I enrolled at the chiropractic school. That's I live in Kansas, so there's one in Kansas. So I enrolled in that chiropractic school. I had about a year of prerequisites I needed to do. And then I went through chiropractic school as a single mother. And it was really, really, really hard. I mean, chiropractic school's hard. It's hard. You've been through it. And
honestly, I had friends that had kids while we were going through it. Now that I went through children in my 30s, while after I had already established myself with a career, I thought that was hard, Amelia. I don't understand how anybody can put those two things together. So bravo.
Thank you. It was, but I had all of that determination. Like I wanted to finish something because I'd never really finished anything in my life. And so I was just so determined to finish this. And I didn't care about my grades. I just wanted to pass. I wasn't I have to get A's person. I was like, C's are good. I just want to get out of school. I need to get through this. And so I did. And, getting through chiropractic school and proving to myself that I could do something hard it's kind of where all my personal development and everything with fitness that is yet to come, I think started, because beforehand, I didn't really think I could do hard things. I was scared and it was more comfortable to stay back and not push myself because it was scary. And what if I fail? And
all the things. Yeah,
all the things. So I graduated chiropractic school. I met my husband, Jeremy, while I was in chiropractic school. And then we got married right before I graduated chiropractic school. And then I started my practice, which again was very hard. Luckily, I had him. He's an established chiropractor and he was in a different town than we opened my office. But luckily I had him to help me because, starting a business is hard, but then starting a chiropractic office that you have to, be the doctor and the business person, like that's even harder. There's a whole nother level to owning this kind of business.
Yeah.
And dealing with insurance and dealing with, people in pain and, dealing with people who don't want to pay. All of these things. And, luckily, I've had some good staff over the years because I'd probably just give it all away for free because I can't ask people to pay. That's really hard for me. So luckily I have other people that ask, make sure people pay. But it's, establishing your practice and getting it rolling is one of the harder things that I have done as well after graduating chiropractic school. But again, when you do it, it just proves that you can do something hard and you can have that determination. You can have that discipline. Um, for me, I think discipline is the biggest thing that I'm doing now. I always say, inspiration is great and motivation is great, but if you don't have the discipline, you're not going to keep going, because that inspiration gets you to sign up for whatever, that 5K or whatever. The motivation gets you to start training, but discipline is what carries you through. And if you don't have discipline in all areas of your life, you're just going to fall.
And discipline in the face of what you've gone through. So like, if I can just poke the bear a little bit. So you had your own trials and tribulations growing up. You got off the wrong tracks a little bit. You regained some purpose in life because you had two kids at an age that most people are still a kid themselves. A lot of women are terrified that they would be faced with something like that. Instead of taking it as something that knocked you down further and accepted that and tolerated that, you turn that into something that has said, no, F this. I have to become this provider. I have to be able to step up in life, as opposed to allowing it and tolerating it to knock me down. Then your children developed. You've grown your practice. You've got children that are now adults, and they have also experienced their trials and tribulations. And as a parent, now you're knocked back into an oh my God situation that you also have to overcome. My question for you in all of this, and we'll get to where you're going next, but how does one keep their damn sanity and keep disciplined and focused when you have a practice, a relationship, and then you've got other challenges that come with children that are coming along that become significant mental distractions? Like how, and I don't know how far you want to dive into all those things, but
yeah,
that's kind of what I want to challenge you before you go into what you're leading and what you're working on now. Like, how do you keep discipline in the face of the tidal waves that are thrown at you in life?
and it's hard sometimes. And there were days, and so with my children, so my son was going through a really tough time for a while. He had his own like mental emotional stuff that he was going through. He got into drugs as well. He overdosed on fentanyl and almost died, and he was in the hospital for 4 or 5 days. And then shortly after that, he was arrested and then in jail for 4 or 5 days. Then I took him to rehab, and now I'm happy to report he's doing amazing, and he has a new baby, and it's amazing. It's
and
just
somebody has become a grandmother.
which is so much better than being a mother. Oh my God, so amazing. So he's doing great now, but there was about a year and a half, or so 2 years with him that I was very mentally distracted. And so for me, having the discipline to keep, training and keep moving forward in life was just that. I had to be there for him. I had to be strong for him and to help him and to pick him up when he was falling down. So I couldn't really allow myself to fall apart too much. You could ask Jeremy. I did. There were days and nights that I just cried and didn't want to do anything. And
I can only imagine.
And I just want to stay in bed. But, coming to my office every day kind of helped distract me from that. And then going to the gym and starting to change myself and change like me physically and emotionally and mentally, so I was stronger, really just helped so I could show up at a higher level for my children, for my husband, and in my office, because there's distractions all the time in life, and you have to keep moving forward. Because
if I can talk about one thing that I think has been really admirable, is that I think that the piece that I admire probably most about you, Amelia, is that there's this concept as a parent that we need to sacrifice everything for our children, for our families, for these things. I mean, I call it mother's martyrdom, where you give everything away and then you resent, everyone because you're not getting in the end. I think what I admire the most is that through all of the shit, if I may say it, that you've experienced, you've really recognized, and maybe you can even identify when it occurred for you, but you've really identified the fact that you cannot pour from a cup that is fucking empty. You've recognized that in order to be a parent, that you had to be in very difficult situations, to be a doctor and a professional in your community, and now to lead at the level that you are right now, that your cup is the most important one to fill. And how many women have you spoken with are just, they're completely empty. There's nothing left. They don't see that there's a possibility for more in their life because they're trying to pour from an empty cup. And I don't know if you can identify when that occurred for you, or what happened for you. But that's one of the things that I've admired most about you, is you recognize that through all this shit, you somehow have identified that you have to have a cup to pour from. There's no way you accomplish the shit that you've accomplished unless you recognize that as a leader in life, if you will, one has to have something to pour in order to continue pouring. And now, what the heck? A leader of a business, a leader of a family, and now you're going on to other ambitions. Could you identify when that occurred for you? Was that when you were a single mom? Was it then that you recognized that you needed to fill your cup up, or what was the turning point for you where you said, no, 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 no. Yes, I need to provide for the kids, but mama's got to come first. When did that happen for you?
I think when I truly sat back and started to think about that, it was about I think 7 or 8 years ago. I did my first personal development seminar here in my hometown, and the leader of the seminar said, you have to put your oxygen mask on first, and we all know that. You hear that on the plane. You have
hear
to
it, but do you apply it?
Yeah,
most of us have been brought up in a life of our obligation is to grind harder, and we reward people for being the most exhausted.
Yep. But you have to put your oxygen mask on first and take care of yourself, because if you don't, you can't take care of everybody else. And, if you go through my finances and my checkbook, I spend more money on myself, like training and diet and anything else, self-care stuff. I probably spend more money on that than anything else that I spend money on. And that's just because I know how important it is and what I need to function at a higher level. And what I need is different than what you need, and different what the person down the street. And we're all different, but I know what I need. And when I heard that at that seminar, and I was like, oh shit, I haven't really, I mean, I have and I haven't. But what I had been doing wasn't actually putting my oxygen mask on first. It was kind of just flitting through life and not really knowing what was going on and getting a massage.
You were still in a little bit of, I'm just surviving, even though you were being a very productive member of society. I think that's where most of us end up, is you end up in, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, you're still just surviving.
Yes. And you can be at any financial level and just be surviving, not actually thriving. And I still was kind of there, I kind of worked myself up. But once I realized that what I needed, and the things I needed in my life to put my oxygen mask on first, to be a leader and to really live the life I wanted to, and to be able to show up how I wanted to show up in life, that's when I really started making huge leaps in my office, in my personal life, in my body, my health, my mind. My mind was the biggest one. The shifts that have happened with my mindset over the last, 5-6 years have been huge, just huge. Some of them I didn't really I didn't know I needed to make, but once I started making them and thinking different and just showing up different, huge things started to happen.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, in the last year and a half, you started into a completely different endeavor.
Mhm.
What kicked this off for you? I'm just curious.
Yep. So that really started when my son was in rehab. So after I took him to rehab, or right before I took him to rehab, I knew I needed to change what I was doing because I'd kind of gotten into this, lull where I was drinking way too much, sedating myself, not eating as healthy as I should. And I kind of felt like I wasn't showing up how I wanted to in my office or in my life. And I wanted that to change. Wanted it to change for me, but I wanted to be a better example for my son as well when he came
Awesome.
home from rehab. And so I started 75 hard. So I took him to Georgia to rehab. In September 11th or 12th, when I got home, I started 75 hard the day after I got home from taking him to rehab. And starting that program just really snowballed into what I'm doing now. Just having that consistency and the discipline and the framework, because I work well with framework. When I don't have a do this, do this, do this, do this, I'm not as well. Like I really want to be a spontaneous person, but I'm not. I'm a very structured person and I have to be, or life just doesn't go as well if I don't have a plan.
Let me pause you on that. What I have discovered and what I've seen, not just in many of the doctors that you and I have worked with, but those of us that come from a place that originated in high anxiety, we can call it anxiety, attention deficit, we can call it whatever it is. Those of us that, if you can identify with that, we all do better in a very structured, routine, habit-based, like systematic form of life. When that's there, it brings calm and we can see results that come out of it. When we're in spontaneity, which may have worked well in university to be able to just run off to a party, it creates chaos in our life as a highly functioning adult. So I totally resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, sometimes I want to be spontaneous. I just can't. Just can't very often. But so I started 75 hard and that gave me the discipline and the direction and the framework I needed to start implementing things in my life that I was missing. So no drinking, eating healthy 100% of the time, exercising twice a day, drinking a gallon of water, like doing all of these things. And then about halfway through those 75 days, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna train for an Ironman. I had done triathlon in the past, and I had always said I'm never gonna do an Ironman. That's really effing stupid. There's no way I'd want to do that. But in the process of kind of going through all this, I decided that was my bitch voice talking. Like I was just bitching out because I didn't want to do something hard. And so I decided I was going to do something hard and I was going to step up and I was going to be a boss because that's what I am, a boss. And so I started training for an Ironman and that was difficult. But I hired a coach because again, I need somebody to kind of tell me what to do with those kinds of things. I'm sure I could have found a plan online, but having that accountability of having somebody program my workouts and tell me when I'm doing them just really works better for my life. So I hired a coach. I started training for an Ironman, up to 20 to 22, 3 hours a week at the end of cardio, swim, bike, and run. I mean, it's a lot. Ironman's a lot. And I completed my first Ironman September 25th and
Congratulations.
crossed that finish line. And I was so excited.
And now, as I said to you, you do your first Ironman. Now it's an addiction.
Now I'm signed up for another one.
I would argue that it's probably on the healthier side of all of the addictions that could be thrown out there. When is your next race?
April 22nd in Houston, Texas.
Okay. So I think I heard you say, I can't raise two kids on my own. I can't go to school and get through school because I just don't have it. I can't build a business because I don't have that in me. And I heard you say, I can't do an Ironman. I heard all those words from you.
Yep.
It's interesting how all of those things that you said that you cannot do, you not only did, but they have continued to build into the person that you have become. And I think that's at the nut of kind of what I always like to talk about is it's these challenges that we face that we either run away from them or they build a foundation of who we are becoming. And where you're at now, like, if you look back, would you have ever imagined that as an 18-year-old who is pregnant, that this is where you would be?
No, never. No, I mean, I've never even been asked that question before, but yeah, no.
Yeah, at some point in time, and this is for another conversation. This is one of the hardest things for me too, is to look back, because I always feel like I always have a story that I'm not doing enough. I'm not enough. There's all these stories that run through our head. Every once in a while, I have to sit in what I've accomplished and just go, dude, dude, like, what you have accomplished, Amelia. I would have you consider that most people, if they got through one of those things, it would be a monumental achievement. So I would just want to say, first and foremost, how proud I am of you, but just how in admiration that I sit in what you've accomplished. Now, you are now, because you have seen what it takes. You've built systems for yourself that work. Now you're in a field where you have the capacity to help others that they still live in the I can't. So talk to me a little bit about your desires, and who is it that you would love to be able to help get more out of their life? Who are you speaking to now, Amelia?
So really, when I think about who I'm speaking to me about probably 5 to 8 years ago. When some of these things that I didn't think I could do, or that were a struggle for me, or that were hard. So, I really have a passion, and this passion started to develop over the last couple of years or so. But I really have a passion to help, middle-age-ish women who have, who probably, were athletes in the past, or, did a lot of cool things when they were younger, but now they have careers and families, and probably teenage kids or kids that are just graduating from high school, and they're kind of left with a now what, now what's going on? Their health isn't great. They don't feel great. They don't look like they used to. They have some body image things. They have some self-confidence issues. Maybe they don't like their job, but they think they're too old to change anything. Maybe they're not satisfied with some of their relationships in their lives, and they want to figure out how to just live more full and have more fun, and just be the person that they feel like they want to be, but they're afraid to be her because they're scared of what it's going to take to get to where she is.
And they have I can't stories. Sound familiar?
A lot of I can't stories.
I can't. There's no way. They may have some of those ambitions, but they just, there's no way they can see the path. So talk to me about how, if I'm listening to this and I'm like, holy shit, like, I just want a fraction of what it is that you've done or had, and I don't know where to start. Where would I start? How do I get a hold of you? What's the conversation? Where do I get a hold of Dr. Rodrock?
So social media, Amelia Rodrock is my Instagram, Facebook, that's an easy way to get a hold of me. It's probably the easiest way. I'll give you my cell phone number. I don't care. You can text me. So I can
do that. Drop it if you want.
Okay. Yeah. So my cell phone is 785-218-0010. You are more than welcome to text me. If you call me, I probably won't answer because I'm usually busy and don't answer my phone. So just text me and then I'll get back to you.
Awesome.
But yeah, text me, messenger me on Facebook. Just, reach out if this is you. I'm starting a seminar series, or I'm putting together a seminar right now for women. So if you're live close to me, I will start putting out details of that. It's going to be in January. If you don't live close to me, still reach out. We can figure something out.
Awesome. So I think what I heard you say again, just to summarize, if you are, I don't want to contain it too much, but you're kind of in that midlife crisis, I guess, almost stage where you're like, you're coming out of the fog that I call the midlife or quadrant of chaos. You got, ideally, you've you're either raising or coming out of raising a family, you recognize that you have, for a lack of a better term, sacrificed, martyred. You've given your soul, and you just know there's so much more left for you, and you're in a stagnant place, moving on a treadmill maybe, but the treadmill isn't going anywhere, and you know that there's something else, that there's another pinnacle that you want to hit in your life. um, that's the person that needs to reach out and say, hey, listen, I just need some direction and some guidance.
Yes. Yep. That's
Awesome.
her.
The just out of curiosity, the seminars that you're putting together, what are they all about? What will I learn in that?
So some of the stuff we've talked about, how to maybe reframe some of these I can't stories, how to set like real targets that you can you can hit, not just all these like woo woo, oh, it's the first of the year, I'm gonna make a vision board and set all these goals. I mean, I love all the woo woo stuff. I love goals. I love vision boards. I love all that. But this seminar is it's not going to be as like rainbows and unicorns. I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of, facing truths and, figuring out who you are and figuring out how to reframe some of that. And it's going to be dirty, and it's hard, but you have to do the hard work. So you're going to learn how to do that. You're going to hopefully set some really big targets that you can hit over the next, quarter, year, however long it is. You're going to figure out what you really want out of life, and who you want to be and who you want to show up as, and how you want to do that.
Awesome. Listen, I want to say thank you again, and I hope that there are some people that have just been waiting for your star to shine and for you to step into the light. I hope that there are some people that will be able to accomplish even a fraction of what you have accomplished in your life. I want to say bravo. I want to say thank you for coming and spending some time. And if you have any questions, or if you're watching this and you need some assistance or guidance, please reach out to Dr. Amelia Rodrock. She is an absolute rock star. And if you haven't gained that from our conversation today, reach out to her whenever you get an opportunity. Amelia, I want to say thank you. I am going to